Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Goldcorp in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about recent important news and developments at their companies. With us today, I'm happy to have again Marcy Kiesman. She's CEO at Durango Resources. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol DGO. Now, for those of you who are new to the Durango story, and especially for those of you who are looking for ways to capitalize on the recently announced condition approved construction of the Pacific Northwest liquid natural gas project. That's a proposed $11 billion terminal to export LNG in northern British Columbia. You need to listen up because Marcy and Durango hold 100% interest in two limestone properties in northwestern British Columbia. They were strategically chosen ahead of the curve, and this is what's so impressive about all this. They were strategically chosen to coincide with this potential liquid natural gas project. Both have historical occurrences of limestone, which will fast track them from exploration to production since they're near-term producing properties. They've got grades as high as 96%, and historical workings have indicated a preliminary 454,000 tons on just one of the projects. Here's Marcy, tell us all about it. Marcy, welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me, George. Good to see you.
Marcy, I got to tell you, I'm not just saying this because we're such good friends, but I'm extremely impressed with all companies that are able to get ahead of the curve and position themselves. And you've done it here because the very first interview we did about a year ago was about your limestone holdings. And people were saying, what's with the limestone when all these other resources were so hot? How smart are you and your team looking right now?
Well, we're looking a lot smarter than we did last year at this time. I've been an avid watcher of the LNG stories up in northern BC. I'm originally born and raised up there, so it's close to my heart and dear to my heart. And I have a great desire, as do most people in Canada and BC, to see the project come through to fruition. And yeah, it has definitely made us look a lot smarter, having these limestone projects ahead of everybody else in anticipation and hopefulness that it would be a good business decision for Petronas, and that it would actually get approval from the federal government. And we're very pleased with the announcement this week.
For people who are new to this, because we're talking about liquefied natural gas and limestone, they're probably wondering, make the connection for me. What is a liquid gas and what is a very hard rock? Explain to everyone what limestone has to do with this massive LNG terminal.
Well, I think that you just nailed it right on the head with that comment, George. I think it's hard for the general average individual to understand the size of these actual projects. As far as I understand from reading the news and watching everything, we are looking at a comparable size project on the Pacific Northwest, or the Petronas one, is very comparable to a project in Australia called the Curtis Island LNG, and it's being developed by a company named Bechtel. And this Curtis Island produces, I think it's 25 million metric tons of LNG a year. And the one that we are speaking about right now, that's just been conditionally approved by the federal government, is 19.2 million metric tons a year LNG, which people go, yeah, so what? That's fantastic. But if you go on to Bechtel's website, and it actually will go through and have in very clean, easy layman's terms the amount of materials that have actually been used to build this facility, which is comparable, like 5 million metric tons difference. And they've used enough concrete on the one project in Australia to build 7 Empire State Buildings. And I don't know if you've ever been to New York and see the Empire State Building, but it's a pretty good size. And to actually build 7 of them with the concrete that's required to build a facility of this size is something like I can't fathom unless I put it into those kind of terms. Another potential use for limestone, besides just the building and the concrete, they actually have to store the LNG before it can get loaded onto the tankers, the ships. And they use limestone to line and build these tankers, the storage facilities before it goes onto the tankers, because they have to keep it cold. Otherwise, it'll evaporate into air once it gets in contact with air. So yeah, go ahead.
Nope, I'm sorry. Keith, finish that last point. My apologies.
No worries. So yeah, that's the kind of size that we're talking about. And so limestone will have a lot of different advantages in just the plain old building and construction in the area.
And if you can, explain to everyone, because I think this is important, how close your limestone properties are to these projects that have been conditionally approved, this massive LNG terminal.
Okay, well, the LNG terminal is the one that's been conditionally approved is close to Prince Rupert, which is my hometown. And the project that we have nearby there is on Smith Island. And the Petronas project is expected to be built on Lulu Island. So they're about 6 kilometers apart, the two islands. So they're relatively close. And the Mayner's project that we have is located just about 7.5 kilometers south of Terrace, BC, on the way to Kitimat, BC. And we purchased that land package and staked all that in relation to another proposed LNG project that may be going through with the Shell Consortium in Kitimat, which will have water access to go up the coast. And the Mayners in just south of Terrace also has the railway going right through the property.
So you're basically, I mean, to pun a word or to coin a phrase, you're a limestone's throw away from all this activity. So it's safe to assume that if you can advance these projects because they are near-term producers, is it safe to assume the company should have a leg up on the other competition?
Oh, definitely. As far as I am aware, I believe that Durango holds the closest known mineral occurrences for the industrial minerals to both the LNG projects in northern BC. So once Petronas makes its business decision, to move ahead, I think Durango is very well positioned, and we will be waiting to aggressively move forward on the projects.
So you've got two advanced limestone properties. What are next steps here? Is one favored over the other? Do you move them both at the same time? What are next steps for everyone at home to know?
Basically what we're doing is we're in the finalized stages. We've been kind of working on things earlier this month in anticipation, because I knew there would be some kind of release by the end of this year from the federal government, whether they would approve or disapprove the package. So we've been getting everything ready. We're going to be going up to do a program, and it'll be actually on both the packages of projects that we have up there, just because once you have the GOs and everybody up there, it makes sense to visit both properties just because of the proximity and to save in expenses and stuff. And as I've told you in past interviews, I'm quite frugal with the funds, so I like to keep everything as lean as possible so we can make every nickel go as far as it can. So that's basically the plan that we have right now, is to go up and do work on both projects. The one block of Mayner's claims that we have, there's actually 6 limestone units that run sub-parallel, so they run kind of northeast like this, and there's 6 units. And in the one report that we have, there's 2 units that are perceived to be very economical and very high for the viability. And the GEO had said that the limestone is very pure, it's suitable for quarrying, it continues over a very long extent in a northerly direction. And we want to go up just to make sure we know exactly how far north it goes and how big the presence of the material is, so we have a good indication of how much. It says 454,000 tons and stuff, but we want to go and ensure that's there, and I believe there's more there, so we want to go and prove that up and be ready to move forward once Petronas makes its business decision.
That sounds, I gotta tell you, that sounds exciting. How exciting, how big is this for Durango? Now that we've gone through some of the details, how potentially big is this? When you were first staking out these limestone properties and preparing yourself, did you ever think it would come to fruition and be this, and potentially this big? Give everyone a feel for what we're talking about here, if all goes well.
Well, it was always the hope that it would go through and get approved from the federal government, but with the economic slump of the minerals and the gases and everything, economically as a whole for the worldwide, it's been in a slump for a last little while. So now that things are starting to pick up a little bit and the federal government has given its conditional approval, things are definitely looking better. And I think as me being a shareholder of a Durango, I am thrilled with the news. We've got a lot of work yet to do. We've got to wait on Petronas, whether they're actually going to make the decision to move forward. They've got 190 conditions that they have to meet. So it's definitely not a slam dunk at this point. But over the past year, we've done a lot of conversations with local builders in the area of Terrace and Prince Rupert and stuff as well, because we've been looking at slowly advancing the projects and getting them into a spot where we can get them into production relatively easily and having smaller purchasers. But it was always our goal to have a big project like this, and hopefully the one through Kitimat will come through as well. And then there's just that much demand for the limestone and the building stone, and we'll be ready and willing and waiting to mine every ounce and sell it all to them. So I think for a shareholder of Durango, it's a great thing for us because of our location. We've got the rail access, we've got water access, we've got the goods, and we're ready to get busy.
And everyone at home should know, for those of you who don't know, the project is scheduled to be completed by 2021, correct, Marcy? Am I correct there?
Yes, so far that's what the predictions have been in the newspapers and in the news. So
you're talking about potentially a fast and furious kind of construction timeline here that would be great potential for shareholders because it really contracts that period is supposed to be some 10, 12, because some of these things take 10, 12 years. Sometimes you hear about these things. So that's got to be pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, and the limestone, it's nice because it's relatively environmentally friendly and easy to mine. In the past, I've worked with companies over on Vancouver Island that we've done the industrial mineral mining and stuff, and it's a lot easier and faster to do than mining for gold and things that have a lot of impurities. So that's great for us too. I've always loved industrial minerals. It's not as sexy as exciting as gold and lithium and cobalt properties, but for having a quick, easy bang for your buck and a nice steady income, I think it's a great project and a great area. And we look forward to moving the projects forward.
Agreed. And I want to touch on something you did talk about lithium there for a second. So I want to end this interview off quickly with a question for you, because for those of you who don't know, but Durango's got some great lithium projects that surround Nemaska Lithium, who's one of the most better well-known companies out there, most well-known companies. You put out some news regarding Nemaska Lithium tie-on news on September 21st. The market didn't seem to like it. Are they missing something?
I think yes. So, we've had some great success in the first pass grassroots exploration of the projects. We've had quite a bit of ground in the surrounding area. So this was kind of our first swoop across the properties to do a quick sampling program, look for the pegmatites. Our team has found the lithium-bearing pegmatites, and the assays results, they sampled 47 pegmatites, and 11 of those carried lithium values of over 129 ppm lithium oxide and ranged up to 689 ppm. Of course, it would have been fantastic for us to find higher grab samples values in the lithium, but generally lithium, the mineral in pegmatite, when it's exposed to the weathering over the years, it will actually go down into deeper in the rock, and it washes away. It's not something that we would expect to go and find 2% lithium on an outcrop, because if that was the case, Nemaska Lithium would have found that years ago. I have gone through all the reports and stuff, and even Nemaska Lithium, well, they were actually Nemaska Exploration, in their 43101 from 2009, when they did their IPO, they used a pneumatic drill and blasted for fresh samples of rock to sample. And some of their results were still only 0.14% lithium oxide. So Even though the numbers may seem low to somebody who's expecting some really high assay, the odds are that you are not going to find that in just a first swoop of a property. So basically the fact that Durango is so close to lithium, Nemaska Lithium's proposed mine and the pit, it's like a 1.5 kilometer distance away. And now we've confirmed that we've got lithium bearing pegmatites, and we've also got cesium, tantalum, rubidium. I think this is really exciting. This is what we were hoping to find in our first phase of the program. Now we have targeted zones that we can go and focus on, and we know where the lithium-bearing pegmatite is on the property. And now we're ready to go in and expose get some fresh rock to take samples of, and we can trench and sample. And then later, if the results are warranted, then we can drill.
All right, and I think that kind of perspective is important at the end of the day, because looking at a raw number is not enough. So I appreciate the fact that you gave us some context there. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've got a lot to do, and you take the time to talk to everybody. And again, I want to thank you, and everyone. I want to congratulate you and your team. And I think everyone at home has to realize that, because in the small cap world, there's so much short-term thinking that it's great to see you and Durango join that club of long-term thinkers getting ahead of the curve. So this is fantastic news. I congratulate you and your team, and I look forward to you being back here a couple more times before the end of the year to give us an update on what you find when you put boots to the ground.
Sounds great. I look forward to it. Hopefully we'll have some more good news to report for you.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will, because you've got a pretty good idea what you got up there already. That's the important part. You've been watching Marcy Kiesman. She's CEO of Durango Resources. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol DGO. If you want to find out more information, and you have to, especially about these limestone properties, get over to the website, durangoresourcesinc.com. Also, get over to Goldcorp, punch in the company's name or stock symbol to find all the great interviews we've done, especially that initial one about limestone just over a year ago. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, George.